Hello, it's Blockchain here coming at you with another technical analysis update. For those of you just tuning in, I'm primarily an Elliott Wave trader using other areas of Confluence and other technical analysis to really complement my price analysis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the charts. Guys, before we do jump into the charts, if you are new to my channel, make sure you guys jump over to the website and check out the blockchain trading tatrading.com. Blockchain tatrading.com. Right underneath the about me, I'm actually giving away a free video of my number one trading strategy for free that is profitable, consistent, reliable, and applicable to any market. So just make sure you click on the get in touch, or you can create a profile right up here, and under the drop down you'll actually have a little tab for the video. You can check it out that way as well. So jump on over there, check that out, let me know your thoughts. And then of course, if you're not a member of the exclusive Discord, we are actually having a pretty good sale on the prices before they do go up. So $25 per month or $147 a year, which is about 50% off as if you were to do it individually per month. So pretty good deal on that piece. On the Discord, so I just want to jump over there real quick. I'll just highlight a few things. So from the last video that I had, actually had a member request DGB. So this is where we were. It looked like we were playing out for wave 3 with a target of 0.02341, and sure enough, I actually just pulled it up not too long ago, tagged it perfectly to a T. So I'm able to do individual requests, get them out there. They're a lot quicker and a lot sooner, as well as even current actions and plays for what we're going through right now. So make sure you guys jump in there. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. It's full of full-time professional traders as well as traders that are just beginning and starting off. So it's a great element of resource. And if you guys want to learn and capitalize on some knowledge, might as well trade along with some of the professionals out there. So let's dive into the chart. So I'm going to jump over to ETH real quick and look at the daily. Again, I start off on a higher time frame, then I start to work my way down to the smaller time frame. So on the daily, really starting off at the last high of 365, working down to where we are currently. It does look to be pretty corrective in my opinion so far, from the move down, as well as even where we are now from this move back up. We kind of see the 0.236 fib on this channel has been a pretty heavy area of resistance. Going all the way back up here to 320, resistance here, found a little bit for support, then again as resistance at 238, and even where we've hit our head on it a few times right here at the 217, 218. And you can kind of see that really on every single fib level, we've found some sort of reaction, especially on this move up, from the 786 to the 618, the 0.5, 382. All of these have had some sort of resistance or support throughout this entire move. So this is definitely something to pay attention to as we continue to play around within this descending channel from the high of the $362 mark. So it does look all corrective in my opinion. There's always a bull and a bear count, and that's what we want to pay attention to as we continue to go through this. So let's actually jump over here to the 4-hour, and I can go through really what I'm looking for from a higher time frame on the 4-hour from a bear count and a bull count scenario. So if you look at right here, this is the whole zone that we need to pay attention to that really helps determine if this is going to be a more of a bullish count, more of a bearish count. So if we start our count down here, right at the very bottom, this would end up being a 3-wave structure right here for an ABC. This move right here is a 5-wave structure. And what we really kind of just determines what is going to make this bull or bear is if we started the move up right here, or if it ended up, getting started right here. So if we started at the low of $87 for ETH, making this a three-wave structure, we'll pull some fib levels. So this would be your A, your B, and then up for your C. And then for a WXY, we would have an ABC structure in the middle, so A, B, and C right here. We'll put us right up here, tagging the 1.618, saying that this is as high as we are going. Is pretty much maxed out, and we need to reset and correct further in order for us to get a impulsive move to continue to the upside. It looks like our pullback here has also been corrective as well with a three-wave structure. But what's interesting to pay attention to, actually I'm going to go back on the daily, is these little two steps. And if you also look at the, where are we at right here? So on the derivative oscillator, you can see where we've had these two volume peaks for downward momentum. And we kind of did the same thing, two little downward peaks for volume momentum, had this little pump up, right? Boom, boom, and then that's when we dropped it. So we had a pretty steep trend line right here that we lost. And it's the same thing here. We had a pretty steep trend line that we were following for a little bit right there. We lost it, came back down. And the structure is pretty close to looking the same. So that is what I'm looking at the moment, because we kind of had the same thing here where we kind of pumped a little bit, pumped up, and we may be going in for another retest of the 382 here, and that would put us somewhere back in the ballpark of the 212, 213, 211, depending on when and where we get back up there. If we do retest it and then follow the same, if we do break this trend line, I would also expect further move to the downside, just like we did here when we broke that trend line. So it's just something to point out, something it's fairly interesting to look at, as the structures have been pretty close to the same as we've gotten to the tops up here. So that's saying that this is complete. A WXY is a three-wave, three-wave, three-wave. I'm having this last wave here is an ABC, a zigzag. So this is a five-wave move, three-wave back correction, and then another five-wave move up. The other way we could potentially count this is if we start it right here for the 5, an impulsive wave starts with a 5-wave move, and that would basically say that we have some room to go still. And if this did start as an impulsive move, and this would be our bull count here, or this would end up being our 1, 2, and the third wave needs 5 waves in it. So it would have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up again for a 5th. This would be an extended 3, so maybe even just a slightly higher, maybe potentially an ending diagonal if it forms out, then back down again for the 4th, and then up again for the 5th. So with an extended third, sometimes the last 5th wave we won't have a full extension. Sometimes it does get truncated, so we may even do something like this, kind of back up towards the 241, and have some kind of correction back down. But that would be our bull. And as we go into the smaller time frame here, that's going to help determine what are we looking at here. And it's kind of, if you compare Bitcoin and ETH together, ETH is looking a lot more bearish than what Bitcoin is now, and I think a big part of that is due to the halving, and that could be definitely playing a role. So let's go ahead and look at the 15-minute here. Let's see. Let me get rid of some of this. I'll draw some clean ones. So these are just areas of support and resistance that I am paying attention to, throughout this move. And You can see we have a nice little green candle that we're going through at the moment, but a couple ways that I want to point out in which we could potentially be counting this is one is a WXY. Boom. And right here, we can see a pretty clean 5-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then if you pull the fib extensions, again, overextended third, and put us right back up at the 2.618 to finish off as a fifth. And we do have our 5 waves right here inside of the third. Okay. So that would basically mean that the front of it, if this is a WXY, this would be your A, B, and then up for your C for a 3-wave, and a 3-wave move here, and then your C wave going up. Just because I'm having a hard time seeing this as a 5-wave move, which is leading me to say that this overall structure right here is corrective. What we could potentially be looking at as well, if depending on how high we do end up coming up, is we are just dealing with some overextended waves, and maybe somewhere in here I'm either missing a count to where this would be a 1, 2, 3, and then come back down for the fourth, and then our third wave is ending here. And it would end up looking at something like that to get us up to that 204 or 205 range, to finish off as a fifth wave down. This does seem to be coming off pretty strong right here at the moment, so that's something we'll be paying attention to as we move. But at the same time too, it does look like we've been having a 5-wave move down. So this would be our bull count to get back up here to 204, 205, finish off this particular move here. But the only thing that I don't like about getting up that high is if this is WXY. Is if this is a WXY, then basically right here at the 1.618 is saying that we are pretty much done. If this is a WXY, 1.618 is the furthest we can go. So that's the only thing that I don't like about that, which is why I'm leaning more towards this being the 345 complete. And also, if you look at that pullback, let's get a different color here. I'm seeing this as a 5-wave move down, right in there on the small time frame, and this is looking like a 3-wave move, which is what we can expect for a 2-wave or a wave 2. Now, where we're at right now is pretty much the max of we can go if this is a wave 2, and ultimately it would turn into something like this here. Now, obviously, if this goes any higher and it breaks the beginning of wave 1, then this can't be a wave 1. Wave 2 can basically come up and max out to where it's at, but it cannot break the start of wave 1. And then if we pulled some fibs for the downside, actually it would be a little bit higher. You can see these actually line up pretty well with the areas of support, so roughly the 191. And the 188 roughly would be my targets if this is basically wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that's if we don't get anything overextended. So that's pretty nice how that does line up. Again, I'm leaning a little bit more to the downside. If you do look at some of the oscillators and the composite index, we're getting a little maxed out up here from where we are currently. We're testing the very bottom of the bullish control zone, and we also even going back to the roughly right here. This whole thing has been setting up with some bearish divergence as this has been getting this little kick up. So it is leaning a little bit more to the downside, in my opinion. We're actually right at the top of the volume band as well, which is acting as a resistance piece. But like I said, if we do break the start of wave 1, which will be like 201.30, 201.35, somewhere in there, then this would then be invalidated as a wave 1, and then this would have to be a more of a complex correction, and then we would be going up for a wave 5 to get us back up around the 205, 206 range, somewhere in that ballpark. So overall, guys, that's what I'm looking for ETH. So I hope to see you guys in the Discord, but if you guys have questions, message me, send me an email. All my contacts on my website. And if you like my content, make sure you guys subscribe, and I will see you guys in the Discord. So let's dive into some Bitcoin here. All right, so starting off on the higher time frame on the daily. Again, this whole move down, I am looking at this as a complex correction from the overall for the larger move up. So I am looking at this as, again, complex correction, more probably WXY, potentially WXYXC, depending what ultimately this plays out to. But really what we want to focus on right now is this move right here on the daily, and see what ultimately what this is going to turn out to be. I'm looking at this as a overall WXY, and let's jump into a little bit smaller time frame so I can show you what I'm looking at. A couple of things I do want to point out up here on the daily is we are really at a point of decision. We have our fast and slow EMAs about to touch, as well as the overall RSI line, and same thing on the composite index. Where they are currently touching right now, and if we see a reaction from the fast and the slow where they connect, and the green one being the fast one, if that it gets a reaction, it bounces off, then overall that's going to be pretty bullish, and I would expect to see continuation to the upside. Also, a note to point out for Bitcoin here is we do have this gap, in which we are in the process of currently filling it as well. So we could get another more pump up, get us back up to roughly that $10,000 mark, fill the gap, and then at which point I would expect another correction back down to the downside, depending on how the wave structures are, and obviously we can address it as we get there. But let's get back over into Bitcoin here. So overall, what I'm looking for, right at a point of decision on pretty much all the indicators here. We do have the composite index, like I said, right here, where the green and the red fast and slow EMAs, if they get a bounce off each other, then that's going to be pretty bullish. Same thing on the RSI, and same on the derivative oscillator. We are seeing signs of the downward momentum slowing and starting to build towards back to the upside. Let's go ahead and dive into the 4 hour. So what we want to look at here on the 4 hour, and what I'm looking at for this to be a corrective structure, overall is this move up, and I've seen my videos before. Right here, it just depends on where we are gonna start this thing and count it. So if we started it right at the very bottom, making this in a 3-wave structure for the move up, and then getting us to right here at the bottom for the X. It puts us right up here at the top of the 1.382 at that, at the roughly the $10,100 mark for where we were at before. Now we can actually go a little bit higher for this to be a WXY and get up here towards potentially $10,900 mark, and that could be the max for this to be a WXY. Another piece that I want to point out is some of these other indicators here is we are getting some bearish divergence here on the composite index. You can see where we have the price is lower and our composite index is higher. We don't see it yet on the RSI, but we are at the top of the bearish or the bullish control zone, as well as coming to the top of the volume band. So it is definitely something that we are going to want to pay attention to because this could still potentially form out and play on the RSI, but the composite index is generally a little bit better indicator for the bullish and bearish divergence. On the derivative oscillator, still pretty strong. It doesn't seem to quite be losing momentum yet. Seeing the price, at the 95.26, that is actually a fairly good number for what I was looking for to finish this move up and then come back down to the downside. You can also see, just even drawing this line here, somewhat of a trend line to see, if we are going to smack our head against it. But coming up with quite a bit of resistance here on some of these other indicators. Now, if this is going to end up being, bullish and not a corrective measurement here, what we would do is start and pull our fib here, at which point this would end up being the end of a wave 3. Clean up some of this for you guys here. Just get rid of all that together. All right, so if we are looking more on the bullish side, this would end up being a wave 1, 2, and then we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. And then we'd be coming down for the 4th, and then up again for the 5th, putting us roughly around $11,500. That is if this is the bullish play. What I don't like about this 4th wave is how quick we had this dump and how strong it was. This is coming off fairly impulsive. So even if you kind of look to see what the reaction is down here on the bottom, I mean, it looks even here is fairly, that's coming off as a 3-wave structure. But this move here, we'll dive into the 15-minute time frame, look at a couple specifics. But this is what I, really don't like about this potential move here, as this did, dump pretty strong and come down, which is again coming off fairly impulsive. Now, if we are going to be, continuing the downside and going to be playing off the divergence there, this would ultimately be a wave 1, coming for the 2. Back down for the 3, 4th, and the 5th. So that's on a 5th target, 5th wave target, roughly around 51.40. Would be our target to the downside. Like that, 11,550. All right, so these are our target. This again, bull count, and this is our bear count. And again, looking at some of these other indicators, the derivative oscillator is still fairly strong. Doesn't quite seem to be losing momentum yet. However, it is getting up towards the peak as far as where I'd like to see it go. And then again, coming into resistance, top of the bullish control zone, as well as the volume band. Same thing with the composite index, getting a little stretched out there, as well as creating the continued bearish divergence. So let's go ahead and dive into the 15-minute. And yeah, there we go. I'll bring that guy up. All right. Perfect. All right, 15-minute. All right, again, same thing with this. It does tend to look pretty corrective in my opinion. And again, it's just starting off right here. This is a 3-wave move. I can't make a 5 out of it. Even, same here. It's kind of difficult to make a 5-wave out of this too. So looking at this is more as a WXY for a 3-wave, and another 3-wave for an ABC here. This is kind of what was throwing me off is in regards to, what could this area be? This ultimately is what I came up with, where we had this as through a, oops, let's try that again. Let's get rid of that. All right, so the internal structure, this is an A, B, C, D, E, right? So this whole thing ended up being a B wave. So coming off of the A, and then your B, and then your C. Again, 3-wave in here, 3-wave here for your B, and then your 5-wave move up for the C. Now, if we pull the extensions for this move here, let's tighten these up a little bit. Right where we're at now is pretty nice. It hits the 1.236 as a corrective extension. Even if you take the measurement from this wave 1 back down to the 2, it does to be look a little overextended. As this would be our 1-2, even potentially having this guy here. Let's move that for a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Again, a little overextension. We can potentially come back down for a 4th and then one more 5th up to get us to that 1.618 mark, somewhere within there. That would get us up pretty close to closing the gap, I think. Let's look at the CME gap here. Yeah, it'd get us pretty close, about 10,000 again is where we'd have to get. So we may take a swing at it. We may take a swing at trying to fill the gap here, but for the 3rd wave, you want to count the 5-wave move within it. So on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, does look to be overextended based upon just pulling the fib retracement from this wave 1. Yeah, it's going to be kind of difficult to get us over that mark unless this is something completely different. That would be the only option to get us really above that $9,800 mark. But maybe take a swing, try and fill the gap. Some may call it filled at 9,800 as well, and then back down to the downside. But overall, even where we're at currently, if we have the bull count to get us to that $9,500 mark, then roughly where we are right now, we would still expect to have some kind of pullback. Looking at some of the other indicators as well, generally between the third and the fifth wave, you are going to see some divergence, in which we do on the RSI, where we have your lower RSI and your higher price, and same thing on the composite index. We have the lower composite index with the higher price. And even up here on this guy, you can see we're losing our momentum, starting to flip and turn to the downside. The derivative oscillator indicating that, I would expect a little bit further move, and it kind of just depends on how we retrace. If we come across on a three-wave move overall, that would be a good indicator that we would potentially get one more leg up. So I'd have a three-wave move like that with another five-wave here, then the fifth. And being as overextended, I'd be looking somewhere around 97.35 to the 98.12, potentially even allow it go back up to 98.75, 9800, within there. Again, we can work through it and see a rejection, and really kind of go from there. So bear count is saying that where we are right now, based upon this count, we would be pretty much done, because there is another way to count this internal wave here, to where this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this would be your third wave right here. And this little last leg up was our fifth, saying that this is done. Again, we had a little overextension here on both, but bear count would be saying that this is pretty much done, and we're gonna roll over and get our correction here. So I can it up a little bit for you guys. Get a little messy. So those are that's what we want to look for. The pullback from where we are currently, that is going to be really the tall tale sign of what are we going to be dealing with if we come back down in a five-wave move. What we want to look for is if we have a potential zigzag, but five-wave will be a good indicator, because if it starts with five, then it needs to end with five. And if we have the five-wave pullback, then that's would be a good indicator that we're going to have continuation to the downside. Because like I said before, on the higher time frame, this could potentially be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then that was an overextended fifth. And then we have our three wave right here inside for our wave 2. And then coming back down again for our potential a third wave or a C wave if this is a zigzag. We zoom out a little bit too, I've heard a couple of people talking about this, is we do have a potential to have a head and shoulder pattern play out. If you're not familiar with the head and shoulders, if you actually look at the Dow Jones currently, it is have a confirmed head and shoulders that is playing out, and looks like Bitcoin here is actually setting itself up fairly nicely. If we have this downside, if we test the neckline, if we break that, then again, we would expect a decent amount of further continuation to the downside that I covered before on the daily. So overall, that's what I'm looking for, guys. That's going to be your bull and your bear scenario, and what to look for, and your targets to play for both. And as always, guys, if you like my content, make sure you subscribe, ring that little bell, ring the bell, smash the likes, and I will talk to you guys in the Discord.